everybody. It's the Devious Diva here. Hope you're having a wonderful Valentine's Day. And I have my wonderful co-host, John. Say hi.
How are you doing, guys?
And we're reviewing the classic Stephen King film, Christine, from 1983. So I'm so glad to have you here, and I hope you'll be part of our interactive live chat. And we will get started. I just wanted to put on a little bit of music. I'm a little loopy. Anyway, guys, it's great to have you here. It's my first live show. I'm extremely nervous. I'm sure there'll be some stuttering, but I really hope that this comes out great. I want to have a special shout out because of him giving me a special shout out and because he's a great subscriber and a great friend in the horror community, and that is Marty from the Trash Picture Show. Check him out. I'm always retweeting his stuff and liking his videos. He does phenomenal reviews. And Marty, thank you so much for that shout out. It means a lot. I'm really working hard on this channel, and it means so much to me for that nod, and also the fact that I do pride myself on hidden gems. I'm one of those horror nerds, and I'm always looking for the obscure. So I really want to thank you for that. That means a lot to myself and to John as well, who helps me co-host this stuff. So thank you for that. Because I do have some new subscribers. So, hey guys, thank you for joining us live. As you know, if you had seen Children of the Corn, which I did last week as my first review, I tend to do a little bit of news for a couple of minutes and then I move on to my review. So the first thing I wanted to talk about with John and all of you is Jordan Peele, who is an up-and-coming director. And he has a new release, July 22nd, 2022. It was a Super Bowl teaser trailer. We don't watch the Super Bowl, so forgive me. I'm just kind of looking this up about an alien invasion that comes to a small town. It's called Nope. Sorry about that. I just had to look at that, but it's called Nope. It did look interesting. I think that he is definitely a good director. I believe he directed the Candyman movie. I think. Yeah,
he had something to do with that.
And that was actually a pretty good movie. I will say, as far as Candyman, I haven't seen the sequels. I felt like the first one wasn't that great, and I'm such a fan of Tony Todd. We both are. He was great in Hatchet 2. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. He was great in I believe it's called Hellblazers. That just came out. That was an original film on Tubi. That was really good. I mean, Tony Todd does a plethora of great films. He actually studied theater here in Rhode Island in Providence. And I think that's pretty cool to be in our hometown. So that's pretty awesome. But I am really interested to see this new movie, Nope. I think that Jordan Peele, he's doing a phenomenal job. A movie that we did see that was called, I don't have it listed here. Get Out. Get Out. 2017's Get Out. Sorry. Anyway, that is about an interracial couple, an African-American guy and a white woman, and her family is having a gathering, a family reunion over a weekend. And the young man goes and meets this family, and they're overly friendly, overly nice, at the same time kind of standoffish, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. And it's very devious, very malevolent. It's very creepy and scary. It has you on the edge of your seat. It has, the wheels turning. And it is a story that is very freaky and somewhat true to life as far as, people being racist, people instill that hatred and evil that's sown into human beings. And I think he does tap into a younger generation as far as storyline, as far as young actors, just as far as keeping it going. A lot of movies are long-winded, a lot of talking, and this has a lot of action. And I think that it was really good. We liked it. We saw it this fall. From September to November, we do 60 days of horror in our home because Halloween is my Christmas. So we check out newer stuff that came out, older stuff, try to find the obscure. And I really think that that was a good film. We had a lot of fun with that one.
We really do 365 days of horror.
We do 365 days, but I say the 60 days because I really focus on, the quintessential ones like Exorcist, Children of the Corn, Christine, like we're doing, Poltergeist, so a lot of those. The only other thing I didn't talk about last week that I wanted to talk about, and that is the new installments that David Gordon Green and Danny McBride are working on, who are the writers, producers, and David Gordon Green director of the current Halloween films that started in 2018 and are still running with Halloween Kills that was released this year, or last year, 2021. And this year, October 2022, is Halloween Ends. But these gentlemen are working on 3 new movies that are part of the Exorcist installments. They're not remakes. They're a continuation. Signed on as Ellen Burstyn, who played Chris McNeil, who was the mother of the young girl Reagan, who was possessed. So she's going to be in that. No Linda Blair signed on yet, but never say never. She was a huge fixture of those movies. How do you feel about those movies? I'm almost forgetting to ask your opinions and just keep talking.
With the fact that the new ones are coming out? Or,
yes, your opinion on the old, do you, obviously you've been seeing these Halloween movies. Do you like these guys, their style of writing, directing? Do you think they'll do it justice? Because Exorcist is a huge fixture in the horror community.
I hope so, because, they're so well revered from way back in the day. I don't want to sit there and get too excited, because when you do that, then next thing you know, you'll be way too happy about it, just sitting there thinking about how great it's going to be, and it ends up being a downer. So absolutely. I am hopeful.
Yeah.
But still, sorry, I can't talk.
Skeptical.
Thank you. That's the word. That's the word.
I'm just vocalizing my opinion. As I've said this on Twitter a little bit, I am a fan of Friday the 13th and also the Halloween movies. Halloween maybe a little more. I like the characters a little bit more, and I do follow it. And while I think that they're doing great with Halloween Kills, and hopefully Halloween Ends, I'm nervous because Exorcist is in my top 5 favorite of all time horror movies. And while I think there's room for humor, I'm kind of a stickler for, is it going to be as terrifying? Is it going to be as good as the original? Is it going to really hold up? Is it going to be kind of, my word is hokey or silly? I'm just really nervous about it, because even though you can have the older cast in it, which is pretty neat, is it going to be as good? Is the storyline going to be there? Is it going to be as terrifying? Because I think that movie is scary, even now for 1973. I thought it was a breakthrough film as far as horror goes. So.
It's really freaky.
It is a freaky movie.
It's a really freaky movie.
She spews blood. I love the crab walk where she goes down backwards down the stairs. There's a lot of freaky moments in it. And if you ask a lot of religious zealots and stuff, they'll tell you, the devil's within like the stills of the film, which is pretty funny and entertaining. But that is going to come out October 2023. The first one will be released in theaters. The other 2 may be on Peacock, same as Halloween Kills. So I actually hope they are, because we have Peacock, and
it's fantastic.
So I'm not much of a movie goer as far as going to theaters. I like streaming service. I think that it's taking the place of cable stations. That'll be obsolete, but that's just my own little rabbit trail. See, I accuse people about rabbit trails, and I do it myself. But anyway, the movie that we are reviewing is Stephen King's classic from 1983, and that is Christine. And I'm really excited about this review because last week we did Children of the Corn, and I am a fan of all of Stephen King's work and his films. I've read most of the novels that have become films, and I always will say the novels are better because there's always something different or missing when you do a movie. But why I like Christine, just to say, over Children of the Corn, is I look at the kids, and while both of these movies, supernatural, as an adult, a grown-ass person, I could just pop those kids in the face and knock them all down. Whereas I feel Christine, you have this 2-ton car coming at you. And if a car could really kill you, we'd be screwed. I'd be screwed. Everybody would be. So to me, supernatural can happen, but the premise is somewhat terrifying. So is there anything that you wanted to add? I always feel like is there something?
It's just, it's kind of just strange.
I just know it's a favorite for you.
I've always liked that. The fact that the car pretty much, has a mind of its own. It's almost like his, love or girlfriend. I thought that was kind of weird, strange, and funky all in one.
It is weird and strange, although because I'm with you, so I'm just making this poor joke, and you're a car lover. I feel like all guys universally sometimes love their cars more than their girlfriends, wives, respective other. I think that's just not the unknown. I think guys always do that. I'm sure if you had a car like Christine and I was just, you'd be with your car too. Because it's not going to talk back.
That's really nice.
Back. That's all. I have a mouth on me.
Yeah.
But for me, one of the things I talk about is the opening scene. I like it, which sets into 1957. And that opening scene, Bad to the Bone, is playing. I love that song. I love oldies. My favorite decade for music is the 50s. So this soundtrack really is a favorite of mine. And so I love when they're showing the bright, shiny red vehicle, which is a 1958 Plymouth Fury. And we talk about like cars all the time. And I was saying, wow, this was my first bitch because I'm naive. And I said, why is it a 58 if it's in 57? And you said that it comes out cars come out.
They always come out the previous
Yeah.
year. So like the 2023s will be released in September or so.
And of course, me being me, which really fits and rings true for the dumb blonde persona. I just said, well, that's inaccurate. Just saying. Anyway, it fast forwards to September 12th, 1978. Young Arnie Cunningham, he's looking for a car. Arnie is a reject in school. He's a nerd. He doesn't have a lot of friends, really likes this girl named Lee who becomes his girlfriend. His best friend is Dennis, who's popular and a football player. And his life completely changes when he purchases Christine. Mm-hmm. And, I think at first it kind of serves in his best interest as far as he sheds his glasses. He looks more like a 1950s greaser, if you will.
He becomes quite the tough guy.
He's a tough guy. He can punk his parents off, and he becomes very aggressive and obsessed with the car, which is really kind of the difficult part of it. So that's the first and foremost. He devotes all his time to restoring it, and he makes it pristine, and it's awesome. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But what we come to find out that is not known to Arnie is that the former owner died in the car.
Yep.
So I don't know if you remember that, but
sucking on exhaust fumes, I think they said it
yes.
was.
His name was Roland. He killed himself. His wife committed suicide, and his daughter choked to death in that car. And the main character, Arnie, does not know that. And that's something that his best friend, Dennis, pries out of the guy who sold them the car.
Yeah.
This guy named George. And Roland is George's brother who owned the car when all these freaky things started happening. So this car is clearly evil from its humble beginnings, and people do not survive Christine. So that's what we come to find as far as that goes.
They even show the opening scene where it like cuts off part of the guy's hand when the hood drops, and then it kills the next guy who goes in to check on the radio when everybody goes on break.
I don't know. I really like the death scenes in it. That's what really gets to me, as opposed to the last movie, which I know I'm kind of comparing notes with them, but that's how I feel. So I was just like jotting down favorite scenes. One of them was actually the girlfriend Lee when they go on their date to the drive-in movie theater. Yeah. And the windshield wiper isn't working, so Arnie gets out of the car to fix it, and that's when she starts choking on a hamburger.
Yeah.
And the music's playing, which is pretty funny to me, and then obviously a bystander helps her as far as that goes. So that was one of the scenes that was kind of freaky to me, but that is not my favorite scene though, because the next thing is what I'm going to talk about is the favorite scene for me. So there are 3 bullies in this movie. And one of them's name is Buddy. There's Moochie. I had to write their names down. Don and Richie. And so the car is going to go after all of his bullies because of defacing the car. But that being said, one of the favorites that I wrote down for murders was Moochie. And I think that if I'm just kind of letting you explain that scene if you want.
Is that the one in the alley?
That's the one in the alley that you like, as far as Christine pursuing him, that death scene.
Yeah, the alleyway gets really narrow, and that doesn't stop the car. Doesn't stop her.
Not at all.
Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
That's true. I wish I was able to just do that when someone really just ticks me off, just crush them. So that is probably one of the best scenes. I usually don't go too depth into too many scenes, but what I do love in this movie is the death scenes, just the explosion as far as the other friends dying. And definitely that was the terrifying scene to me, because I thought, well, once he goes in the alley, seeing it the first time that is, and he's there, the car can't get him, but the car is able to just go right into that alley and crush him.
Just squeeze right in.
That was really, to me, one of the best scenes. And Christine, of course, is repaired. He does end up repairing the car and getting that going again. But this car does seek revenge on all of the assailants in the movie. And also I wanted to know, as far as the detective we were talking about, is Harry Dean Stanton, who's in a lot of films. Yep. One of them being Alien, because I love the Alien series so much. And we were talking about he was in Marvel movies as well. So that's a guy who pops up in a ton of movies.
He's been in a lot of things.
Awful
lot of things.
Absolutely. So I'm trying to think of are there any other things that you want to say about the death scenes? I just tried to also give you the floor of anything that you might want to say.
Thought it was amusing when the car ran down the other guy after it was on fire, and then just caught him on fire on top of it.
That was funny too, and that's part of the gang of bullies. So that was a great scene. That's why I like this movie. The soundtrack, the scenes, which is another thing I like to talk about in terms of horror movies. I think in comedies as well, it's really interesting when you see a movie and there's a death scene and it's very gory and it's very violent and there's like a happy-go-lucky fun song, which most 50s songs are. I always think that irony plays well against each other. I said that watching comedies like Step Brothers, where Will Ferrell's throwing the stepfather down the stairs. You know, a Christmas song is playing Marshmallow World while this guy is tumbling down the stairs, and there's all this swearing and throwing stuff. And I do think that a lot of films are great when you have a good soundtrack like that. It's cheerful when something really evil is going on. So you're checking. Sorry, you're doing the chat, and I'm just doing all the talking here. This is our first time going live, so I just want to say again, I appreciate you guys taking a look and supporting me like this. All of you are an inspiration to me. I love watching all of your shows. So again, this is our first time, but we're really trying with this on a movie that we really think is a lot of fun. So let's see, what else can I bring up about it? So Badly Burned Christine goes back to Darnell's garage. And another scene that I thought was pretty good is, so the guy at Darnell's garage that's going to look at the car, because Christine goes into the garage, if you remember, he opens the door and nobody's in it. It's empty. He sits in the driver's seat and he's crushed to death by the steering wheel. That was another scene that I thought was pretty awesome, which kind of reminds me of my own life when I get into the seat of my car and I don't push it back enough. So my stomach is right up against the seat. Well, I can't imagine the impact of being crushed.
You like to drive in the windshield.
I do. I'm right up to the steering wheel. I drive 10 and 2, like a very stiff person. Mm-hmm. I am a woman driver. I'm a really crappy driver, and you're a good driver. What can I say? But I love that scene. I thought that was another really good death scene as far as that goes. So ultimately, Dennis, his best friend, and Lee, who is his girlfriend, decide, they understand now there's something wrong with the car. That's what's making Arnie so evil. It's consuming him. It has changed him. It's terrifying. And there's all of these deaths and things happening. They notice, that he's driving recklessly. He's drinking, that he sticks up for the car. They're trying to tell him something's wrong with it. And of course, there's nothing wrong with it. Which that part all seems typical. The way you say that, women don't always listen. I think guys, have a tendency to brush off the paranoia of women. Just saying.
No.
I think so. One ear and out the other, right? You hear it, but you don't hear it. Or what is it? You hear it, but you don't listen. Something like that. Something to that effect. Anyway, so then trying to remember that part, the best friend, Dennis, right? He's the one that keys the car, carves into Christine.
Yeah.
Antagonizing Christine to come after him because they want Christine back at the garage. I believe that's where it is. That's what I'm trying to remember, that epic scene, because Arnie's best friend, Dennis, has a bulldozer and he wants to just go right over Christine. And that is, in fact, what they do to stop this. The tragic part about it is that the main character, Arnie, dies in the process of all of this, which I think is like the most epic part about it, honestly. So are there any thoughts or anything that you want to say regarding that scene, or just anything for that final death scene and confrontation of destroying Christine?
You just kind of feel bad for the kid. You really just feel bad for him.
You do?
I do, because he goes and he buys his car and he fixes it up, and then it kind of basically takes over his life and then ends it. That's
true. That is
so
true.
Like it almost kind of like warps his mind innocent. Or almost controls his mind.
It absolutely does. I thought that was like a pretty good death scene where he's possessed and he's thrown through the windshield and he's impaled. So I thought it was like a pretty good death scene, but it is sad. I was hoping that it's just a case of he jumps out of the car and Dennis just bulldozes over Christine, killing Christine, but not killing Arnie, because you are right. He is a nice character. He's a nice person. Well, was. And I was just going to comment that I think it's a really nice car. I mean, my first car wasn't great. It was a hand-me-down Nissan Altima.
Yeah, you had a nice little car for a first, but mine was a Plymouth Turismo.
That's not a bad car. It's really not.
Looks like a Beetle.
Which that's an interesting thing. If you guys are talking in the chat or leave any comments, I'd love to know about your first car. If you have like any cool story of something that happened. The first week that I got my Nissan Altima, I hit a parked car. I backed up right into some college kid's car and smashed the door, and it was a hit and run. I left. And then my dad's like the good, studious, good Samaritan who says, no, go back and leave a note with your insurance information. I'm like, that sucks. Nobody saw me. And I just wanted to be a rebel and get away with it. But no, we couldn't do that. And insurance goes up. Dummy.
That's right.
But anyway, so if you guys, want to tell me about your favorite moments, like we're talking about the ending scene, but any of the scenes in Christine, any funny stories, about your first car. I wish I had a car like this, though. That's a nice car, Christine.
A lot of people wish they had cars like that.
Yeah, we were talking about that. The price,
minus the whole possession thing, but
absolutely, I agree with that. But just to kind of reiterate, I think that it's still a pretty good action scene. The end, and they do end up killing Christine. And then, of course, I would say the ending is best. I don't know if you want to say it.
She's not dead.
She's not dead.
She still has some life in her. The
camera zooms out. Showing like the grill. I want to say it's a piece of Christine, the grill.
It's cubed.
And it, I don't know what's the word, maybe flickers or lights up for a second.
I think you can see a little movement.
You see a little movement with the grill, which is left over from Christine because it's in parts. And now for the most part, the car is gone. But it does show that if repaired or they take that grill, Christine is still alive and well. And then you hear Bad to the Bone, cue the credits, and that's the end of the movie. But I think that it was a really good film. It's one of my favorites personally for a Stephen King film. I think there is a good soundtrack. It's a good storyline, a good main character where he's this nice guy. He's a teenager. It's his first car. He just wants to drive. He wants to fit in. This car kind of helps that along. And it's just kind of the tragic story, like you say, where he's a nice guy and at the hand of this evil car loses his life and everything just because of it. I thought it was a good story. I love Stephen King films. We were talking about that. Yeah. Just the imagination that he has in general. He talks about it, what scares kids, clowns. I agree. I'm to this day afraid of that movie and afraid of clowns.
That's still one that kind of weirds me out a little bit.
Everything is from his personal life. Pet Sematary, we like that too. He was telling the story of his young son. I forget if it was a dog or a cat that passed away. And he was thinking about, my kid is in turmoil and so much mental anguish. I wish I could bring the pet back for my child. So he taps into those things. Like I said, going to school with the whole Carrie thing. He knew girls like me that were shy, awkward, picked on, that he said are low on the totem pole in the pecking order. And how cool would it be if they had telekinesis and they could fight back from all the people that bully them and make them feel that way. So I think he has a way of tapping into all of the emotions of humans, like feeling lost and insecure, how we're afraid, how sometimes we're angry and we fight back. This is just a story of a young kid in his first car.
Just falls in love with his car.
Just falls in love with his car like most guys, like you fall in love with yours. So it's not too much different.
Nope.
But anyway, that is our overview for Christine. So overall, I think it's one of the best movies. With Children of the Corn, I gave it a soft 6. If you had to rate this, although IMDb is skewed, some things are revered that aren't and so forth. It's a matter of opinion. Where would you rate this one? And do you recommend people seeing it?
I like it into the mid-8s, and I would definitely recommend seeing this, especially if you like cars, horror, and you want to feel like it's a romantic type of movie, but not quite.
How's it romantic?
His car does everything for him. His car takes care of him. His car is the one who, basically goes out and defends, him.
Like me, like I am to you. Same, right?
Yeah, except you're not a car. Yeah, so yeah, you're not a car.
I'm better than a car. No,
I didn't say you were.
No, but I see what you're saying. I'm just joking around, but yeah.
But it is. It's kind of like a little like horror romantic type movie, and it puts a different twist on things. So it's not the typical guy and a girl fall in love and then some bad things happen to them.
Yeah.
A guy doesn't have a girl because he is that, dorky or whatever you want to call it. And he goes out and he gets this car and he fixes it up and it's, it's really pretty and it just kind of takes on a mind of its own, if you will.
Oh, I agree with you. I love this movie.
And just like everybody says, the guys love their cars. They call them women. They give them females' names. Hence Christine.
That. But it is a good movie. We've watched it several times together as a couple and we always enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think you're a good sport because I love everything horror. I would say John loves a lot of horror and probably more so because of being with me. Mm-hmm. Now you've probably seen like all the movies under the sun.
I've seen a lot more, yeah.
A lot more of them, especially like the hidden gems. Like I was telling people about Pin, the baby.
Yeah, all the strange
demonic toys. I
That
feel
was-
bad.
that was-
I do torture him with a lot of the obscure, just really goofy stuff. But we do have fun with it. And I always tell people that, you know, if you're part of a couple and one of you likes horror, it's something that as a couple you can have fun with. You can kind of torture the other person. Except in my case, you're not really tortured by it. You do have fun with it, and you make a lot of fun points.
No, and the strange thing is yeah, I like movies even as a kid. Like this is one I've seen, but horror wasn't really my genre. And then I just started watching more and more of it, and then it just became more interesting.
Absolutely, and
'Cause
now
I
you
wasn't
you
big
do love
into
it.
it. Yeah, and now I watch it every night, and I have no issues with that at all. I actually kind of enjoy it.
We went to the first horror convention together, which was Rock and Shock, which is in Worcester, Mass. They don't do it anymore, but you had so much fun with that. We met Kane Hodder, Adam Green, Bruce Campbell, and you had a blast. I could tell that it was Derek Mears, who's super nice, so much fun. Felissa Rose, like we were at the bar where Adam Green and Felissa Rose were. It was so cool.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun.
Bill Moseley was there too. There was a handful of pretty.
And we're
Ray
going.
Wise too there?
Ray Wise was there from Twin Peaks. And this year we're going to the Connecticut Horror Fest. They haven't announced many people yet. I know some of the people from Night of the Living Dead is going to be there. And on Night Watch Zone, he did an awesome review on that. So that's a movie we have to see together.
Which one?
Night of the Living Dead. We have to see that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I haven't shown you that. And so that would be a really fun one to do. So there are a lot of movies still to check out. But anyway, I just want to say thank you guys for tuning in for our first live show. Hopefully we did Christine justice. I hope you guys had a happy Valentine's Day. I hope that you guys have a great week. I look forward to all of your shows. So thank you for joining us and have a great night. I am the Devious Diva and this is John. So have a great night, guys. Bye-bye.